Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special meeting on the Chrysalis calendar. Really great to see everyone here. And I want to give a recap of what the Chrysalis calendar is for some of our friends, partly because it's a relatively new thing. In fact, I think we just came up with the name was it last week, Simon? I mean, it's just moving so quickly. Having said that, the idea was birthed as this unbranded concept of a universal calendar. And let me just go off for a moment on that. But I can't emphasize enough. If you have something to say, just jump in. Don't wait to even raise your hand, especially if your name is Melanie or Charles. Anyway, or Simon. Anyway, but so we were going off about the universal calendar. And as Charles can attest, I was like, I don't know, some cartoon from the 1970s that's just like, I don't know, the Tasmanian devil or something, just saying, you know what? We need this universal calendar. It's the next step in the evolution of the collective superintelligence. Because super quick, what's the collective superintelligence? Here's my concept of it. And Charles and Lauren were kind enough to produce this super cool 5-minute video that kind of recaps it as well. But here it is, real simple. We're having a conversation here, right? And it's super cool, right? Bunch of cool people getting together on a similar wavelength. Think of Charles's image there. You know, we're kind of on this cool wavelength, right? And some of us are just meeting each other for the first time, and that's all cool because there's trust and connection. So it's like this new level, way beyond social networking. It's human networking from the heart. So we're like, okay, let's jump in and find out what's going on here. So we jump in and we're having this great conversation. Now, in parallel, thousands, millions of other conversations. I don't know about millions. They need to be millions. There's billions of us. Easily, we can make millions of conversations happen in parallel on similar topics, different topics, related topics, seemingly unrelated topics. Emphasis on seemingly because it's all related. So the analogy is what a neuron is to a brain, a conversation like this is to the whole network of conversations. Now, the network of conversations does not exist yet as a network. I think it'd be more appropriate and fair to call it a set of conversations in the mathematical sense. Yes, a whole bunch of conversations are happening, and a lot of them are transformational, but no, they're not connected. And if they're not connected, they're not a network. So how do we induce? How do we orchestrate this network to become? How do we induce this set of conversations to become a network? Well, step one in getting them together is you organize a middle school disco dance. You know, boy meets girl. You know, you put on some music, you have a dance. And I'm making an analogy because in 1979, I went to my first disco dance at middle school. I was a 6th grader and I was just like, I didn't know what's a girl? I have a brother. I was living with my brother and my dad. There weren't even any women in the household. And here's all these pretty girls running around. Well, anyway, we all learned to dance. Okay. So for me, the universal calendar is that and we literally had a disco ball. I mean, it was 1979. It was the disco years. So the universal calendar is that 1979 disco dance where the first thing you do is you get everyone in one place and you put on some music. That one place for us is a calendar of events. All these conversations exist. They're not connected. Let's put them all on the same calendar so they can at least see each other and then have the opportunity to walk up to each other and say, hey, want to dance? Right? We got to get them up in the calendar. And so I was just beating the drum, though the idea really came from all of you, from all of us, that we need this calendar, going back to a white paper Charles and Lauren published over a year ago about how disconnected we are. In fact, that was the inspiration for the block party. I said, the first thing let's do is throw a block party. Well, you know, and that's been very successful, but not enough. Not enough people are coming that we can really say, oh, it's really become this great connecting place. So I think, so hence, but also, you know, um, it was anyway, I won't go off about the block party or anything else. The bottom line is the next stage in our evolution is a universal calendar where all of these transformational conversations can be seen and see each other and connect. And also, we can create mechanisms, including little simple icons on the calendar that say, for example, this meeting is open to everyone, or you need to apply if you want to join this meeting, or you need to pay money if you want to join this meeting, right? I'm not too crazy about the latter two. I really like open meetings because in the worst case, you just kick somebody out if it's not working out. And it happens from time to time. But anyway, I feel like I'm going off on these weird tangents, but the bottom line is very, very simple. Welcome, Sister Ivy. We are recording, and we're just doing a recap of the Chrysalis calendar. Malini has her hand up. Yes, Malini, go for it.
I agree with you, Jamin. There are so many events happening on so many different calendars. Why are they not connected? I mean, I think we need to look at, is it because they are on different platforms, or they're using different protocols, or what is it? Or it's just that they're not connected because they don't see the need to connect.
I actually don't think it's Charles has an answer. Yes, Charles.
If you have something first, you can go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to make the simple comment that even if we just start with all the conversations that are A, on the Zoomosphere, and B, open to everyone to join, they're on the same platform, everyone's open, but still the connections are not being made, right? We each end up hanging out in our own tree houses, in our own neighborhood blocks. But with that, I'll pass it to Charles. Go ahead, Charles.
Thanks, Jamin. And thanks, Sia, for all your energy and fortitude in persisting and keeping it going and growing and blossoming. And now it's a chrysalis. I like that name much better than universal, but you're still talking universal, and you're still implying, if not outright stating, one network of networks, kind of singular. And I just don't see it that way. And that's not what we're trying to do per se. We're trying to kind of build out models that we can co-design and use as templates and replicate in a federated peer-to-peer and people-centric type of networking, network weaving, network of networks within the flow and the weaving, and not trying to be too singular. Everybody come to one network or one calendar. I just don't think it's feasible either, but that's what I wanted to share in my quick response. Thanks.
But Charles, do you have any input on why the calendars are not integrating? Is it a tech issue, or is it an attitude issue?
I, with all the respect, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I've been hearing all about you, Malini, so I'm really glad to connect. I don't think the question, that the way that you pose it, is so useful or practical as the broader and I think more tangible question of looking around, actually discovering and identifying, disambiguating what's already happening, because there's already a lot of connection happening. We just don't know about it right here necessarily, or not all of us know about it altogether. There's certainly a lot of technical issues, but the issues are much more human. And the way that the tech has been designed throughout history and evolved, and so on. And Jamin knows much more than me about all that. But there's a lot of complexity and a lot of different angles to look at all this. But there are a lot of activities and projects on the ground in a lot of places locally, and they are starting to connect with each other and find each other. So I'm super encouraged, and my energy and our energy is actually on building exactly all this stuff, but not aiming again to be the one calendar, to bring them all together, to rule them all. It just doesn't make any sense. And we've seen time and time again, those kind of platforms absolutely fail and never even get off the ground. So it's a perspective, and it's a languaging thing, maybe more than everything else. I think ultimately our goals are the same. We're on the same page, Jamin. So that's me. I'll be here a few more minutes, and I'm gonna have to go, but I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Hello.
Sister Ivy, welcome. Welcome back. Yeah.
I would like to share about that question. If it's that people don't want to connect, I just never had felt that's the actual thing. It's just that the system that is in place is a system that does not unite, does not actually seems that it doesn't want us to connect, but just be isolated, so that we can do less of what we need to do. So just addressing that part, I think everyone wants and even yearns to be connected to others like-minded, and to do the good that we can do. But the whole system, since we are little kids, is all about competition and me, and all these things that we know. And I think that's more the what we are dealing with. But I think we all want and love and yearn to be connected to each other, and doing things together is just so beautiful and so much fun too. So thank you for bringing that up, and nice to meet you too. And your name is not there, but nice to meet you.
Oh yeah, we've got, no, that's Charles who was just speaking, and Malini is in India. And for those who have not met Sister Ivy, I think almost everyone has. Sister Ivy is a major, major leader of feeding everyone plant-based foods. And she does most of her work in Los Angeles and now increasingly online. And she's an active participant in our meetings, and we're working to expand and grow with her so that we can feed everyone. Plant-based foods is a basic human right. So she is a major, major force in this world. And I'm so blessed to call her sister, Sister Ivy.
Thank you. Thank you. I will let them know that is because it's something that we have strived for really from the beginning, from almost 10 years, is homemade plant-based food, which is, we kind of really glad that we never breed, we have never brought TV dinners or anything. It's all homemade food by the people of the community, of the house community. So thank you so much for the introduction. And nice to meet you guys, and Gal.
Beautiful, Sister Ivy. Now, I have a burning desire to respond to what Charles mentioned. And Christopher, I see you unmuted, so feel free to jump in, Christopher, anytime. Here's the thing. When I talk about a universal calendar, here, let me tell you what I'm really saying, okay? What I'm really saying is we need an internet of conversations with a great search engine on top, right? I'm not saying, just to make an analogy, hey, I'm Jerry Yang, and we should have yahoo.com, and yahoo.com should own the internet, and everyone should come to yahoo.com. No. I'm saying let there be gazillion web pages, but let there be a Google that you can search for and find them. Right now, we're just kind of all groping around in the dark. We're a bunch of disconnected computers. So here's another analogy. I said,
Damon?
Yeah.
I'm going to just really interject. Do you really want the data to go that way, that Google does data? Over.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not blessing Google's model or anything like that, or for-profit or anything of the sort. I'm using analogies here, metaphors, right? So here's my metaphor. What this conversation is to the set of conversations, a computer is to the set of computers pre-internet. They were all powering away, doing all kinds of great stuff, but they were disconnected. Sprinkle some magic fairy dust in the late 80s and poof, the internet emerges and all these computers can get connected. When I say universal calendar, I'm talking about kind of like perhaps the most visible manifestation of it, which would be a calendar that you can go to and just kind of see where all the conversations are happening. But what I'm really talking about is the fairy dust. And that fairy dust is a hyper object, or perhaps millions of hyper objects, or trillions of particles of fairy dust, whatever. I'm not saying it has to be one thing to rule them all, right? I'm just saying we need somehow, some way to get us all connected. And the next most obvious way is some sort of a distributed, universal, open source. Maybe it's just a protocol, not even a calendar, but a protocol. In fact, there's a super cool video I put at the end of last night's email in PPPS. I use a lot of PSs in my emails. But anyway, in the PPPS, there's, if you got that far, which most of us probably didn't because we fell asleep, but there's a really cool technical protocol that we can dig into later. But I'm just kind of talking about just kind of a storybook. If I were reading a story to my 4-year-old nephew and saying, look, you know, once upon a time, all these conversations were disconnected. And then humanity came together and we figured out a way to have a universal calendar. It's just a story. It's not necessarily a thing that some evil long-haired person owns and controls and says, oh, I got it. I got you all. No, it's just a story. A couple folks have their mics unmuted, so I'm going to pass the talking feather. Go ahead, Malini.
Yeah, Jamin, I need to go in the next 5 minutes because, well, real life calls. But you know, I used to be an event management organizer for 10 years, and there are a lot of aggregators and you know, we're only talking about events. A lot of aggregators and associations where I used to go to Source Business, you know, which would give you the calendar for 10 years of all the events happening. And some of it was global, some of it is organized in terms of geographies, some of it is organized thematically. But there are a lot of, at least from what I used to source my market from, there are four event aggregating organizations where you could just go in and look for, okay, I'd like to reach out to this event that is being scheduled. And because events in real time, you know, you don't need it, it isn't so challenging when you're doing it on Zoom. But when you have real physical events, you know, because it's venues, it's travel, it's hotels and everything else put together, we would normally plan for events 3 years in advance, you know, reach out to the parties 3 years in advance. And these most of these aggregators had event plans on an event calendar for 5 years in advance, because I mean, that's how organizations, and these were all large events, 1,500 participants, 800 participants. The smallest event I have ever handled in those days was 300 participants. So it takes a lot of logistics and planning to put such an event in place in real time. Zoom is actually a cakewalk, if you ask me, because you don't have to look at hotels, you just have to get your timelines right. So I agree with Charles. I mean, there is already that ecosystem out there, which professional event planners and event managers use and have been using, and are now plugging into offering digital services. You know, the event management business has just shifted from being physical to digital, because a lot of organizations don't know how to reach out. Not everybody is a John Raymer who has the wherewithal and the tech, you know, the tech savviness to reach out digitally to large groups of people. So maybe you want to that's what I meant when I asked, why is it there isn't a universal calendar already available like what you're envisaging? Is it a platform issue, or is it just that we need to do a little bit more of homework? But I would go with what you say, because you have to take the first step. Till we do something and make something, we are not going to know whether we're going to succeed or fail, or it's going to be of any use. Yeah.
Just to quickly, yes, it's I guess the word that comes to mind is curation. So these are kind of industry curated lists that you would, it sounds like you subscribe to, and that's happening in all different industry sectors. And I guess there's the two pieces of that are, how are they organized according to what filters and tags and sectors and taxonomy, and then who's going to do the curation, or who's done the curation, and who's going to connect all the curation in that particular special combination way, and all of that. So this is what we're talking about. This is a lot of different moving parts. You know?
Beautiful, beautiful, Charles and Melanie. Great question. So I have a comment, and this is I love the way this conversation is going. I'm sorry folks need to go when they need to go, but we are recording, so you can watch it later. I'll put it up on my YouTube channel. But let me just make a couple quick comments. So first of all, per Melanie's comments and Charles's, we're not trying to create the one and only universal calendar of all events, physical and online, and on any topic from nail polish to chopping down trees. No, it's about global transformation, right? So we're really creating a specialized thing. And just like when, the American Association of, automobile manufacturers created the first event directory of all the things related to the auto industry, they didn't go to the nail polish folks. They didn't go to the tree chopping folks. They just went to the car makers or car parts makers and said, hey, let's organize something in Detroit. Likewise here. And so, so that's why we're calling it the Chrysalis calendar. Basically, people who hear the word chrysalis, boom, it's kind of like a dog whistle, right? Only people who have the right kind of, who essentially pass through the filter of saying, yes, I'm all about global transformation and my events are about global transformation. Now, that's one slice of it. Others will take different slices, and that's why there's room for lots of different aggregators. But to Melanie's point, it actually is largely an attitude thing. So for example, as we've been stepping out and creating these innovations, which to help bring people together and help stoke this network of conversations, twice I have been the target of 2 character assassination attempts coming from the same transformational network, a specific network that basically felt jealous or threatened because they're trying to kind of own it all. And we've had to fend those off. And so that's just kind of an extreme example of the kind of animosity, jealousy, competitiveness that really gets in the way of bringing us together. Right? If anything, there are the current paradigm, the current mode of production of the global economy, the current certainly American culture, not to say world culture, but globalization has spread to the far corners of the globe, almost every last corner. And so it's spread like a cancer. And so we're swimming upstream in a sense here, and we need to find a way to transcend this competition, this ego, this ownership, this possession trance, as Daniel Pinchbeck calls it, and get to a higher plane. And Chrysalis is a really great example because the caterpillar is just me, eat. And the Chrysalis phase is, hey, let's chill out and meditate, dissolve, which maps well to the collapse of the current system, which is collapsing under its own weight and destruction and omnicide. And then within this collective meditative state of gel, which is kind of like what the Zoomosphere has become, imaginal cells can wake up. And so that's why I put in my email, calling all imaginal cells. This is imaginal cells getting the dog whistle, if you will, and saying, Chrysalis calendar, I get it. So there are people who've been showing up. You've been on my email list for months who just recently showed up again because they said, yeah, I've been reading your emails, but now with Chrysalis calendar, I'm here, right? This I like. So it's not to be the one and only thing for all events. No. It's just, we're taking a particular slice. We're saying global transformation, Chrysalis as metaphor. If you dig, join us. And if not, that's cool too. If somebody else wants to create a different kind of calendar with a different kind of focus, whether it's permaculture or regeneration or spiritual transformation, or Christians for changing the world, or Muslims for changing, or whatever, go for it, right? Hopefully we can connect so that we can, so once a bunch of different calendars start to emerge, which is kind of like a bunch of different websites or search engines or portals emerging, let's see how we can get those to connect. We're just one. Chrysalis calendar, hi, we're just little old us, working on creating a calendar, not the calendar, a calendar. Now, the network of such calendars, I would be bold enough to say, that is what I would call the universal calendar, right? So the Chrysalis calendar is not that. And Melanie had to drop off. So she says this is a much needed initiative. Thank you so much, Melanie, for being here. Marco, good to see you. Welcome, everyone. We're kind of on a roll here. I'm going to go on mute. I know Charles needs to drop off soon. So Charles, if you have more words, Simon, be great to hear from everyone.
Yeah, I am going to sign off, but rock on, Brother Jamin, and looking forward to hearing how it evolves and flies the coop, as it were.
Nice to have you. Come back.
Until
Nice to
soon.
have you.
See you
Thanks.
soon.
Thanks so
Much
much,
love.
Charles. We'll see you soon.
Dear Marco, so good to see you here again. Hello.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Yes, good to see you back.
Marco.
Good to be here. It's been a busy couple of days.